Many people who have recovered from COVID-19 feel as if they have a new lease on life and are giving that gift to others. The gift? Their blood, potentially loaded with antibodies specifically designed to destroy the COVID-19 virus.
We have an immune system that was able to fight this off on our own, and that's really, really powerful.
Washington State resident Elizabeth Schneider tested positive for COVID-19 back in February. Her body produced antibodies that got rid of the virus and still remain in her system.
Whatever is in my plasma and is in my white blood cells is extremely useful, both for research but also as a therapy for other people.
That's why she's one of thousands of recovered coronavirus patients donating blood.
Each donation that goes for direct transfusion can probably treat 3 or 4 people. The protocol from the NIH allows us to collect our COVID recovered donors once a week for up to 20 weeks.
In Fort Worth, Texas, lung specialist Dr. John Burke gave a convalescent plasma infusion to his patient whose immune system had not likely produced enough antibodies to deal with the virus.
Patients in need who might be on a ventilator or about to be on a ventilator might be the best candidates to get a little boost in immunity.
Although Chinese doctors report 15 patients who received convalescent plasma were cured, here in America, studies are still underway. Meanwhile, doctors can treat patients on a compassionate use basis.
It could make a world of difference. It could be substantially different. The truth is, we don't yet know. It is an unproven experimental treatment.
In Columbus, Ohio, emergency room Dr. Howard Werman recovered from the virus and donated his blood, which has been given to critically ill patients there. University of Chicago doctors are also testing convalescent plasma on their patients.
They get a transfusion, a single transfusion of the plasma, and then we measure what happens.
They say ideally donors should wait a month after getting better.
The amount of antibody that's against the virus will have peaked at 28 days.
While doctors can't say for sure whether convalescent plasma works on COVID-19 patients, similar treatments proved successful against the Spanish flu and other coronaviruses like SARS and MERS. If you were diagnosed with COVID-19, have fully recovered, and would like to help, contact your nearest blood bank, such as the Red Cross. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Well, CBN News medical reporter Lori Johnson joins us now. And tell us, how long do the antibodies remain in a person's blood?
Well, for COVID-19, scientists just don't know yet, which is such a frustrating answer, I know, because we live in the age of information and we're used to getting our questions answered instantly just by going to Google. But what we do know is some antibodies for certain viruses stay in our system for a lifetime, viruses like chickenpox. But when you compare this virus to other coronaviruses, we know there are 6 other coronaviruses. 4 of them are part of the common cold, and those antibodies stay in our system for only about 6 months. Then there are 2 other coronavirus, SARS, those antibodies stay in our system for about 2 years, and MERS, 3 years, Gordon.
All right. Well, can a person who's never been infected by COVID-19 get the antibodies as a protection?
Right. So this is sort of like a prophylactic measure or a preventive measure. And the answer to the question is possibly. A lot of people, particularly healthcare workers, are wondering if they got the convalescent plasma, if that would protect them from getting it. We know that this is a very new, this has only been tested in the last month. The first patients just started receiving the convalescent plasma about 3 weeks ago at the end of March. And now about 600 COVID-19 patients are getting the convalescent plasma. 200 have been approved to get it, and we're talking about 1,600 healthcare facilities. What happens is the plasma is infused into a patient, and the plasma is the part of the blood that's yellow and liquidy. That's where the antibodies are, and it's only one infusion, and they give them about 200 milliliters, which is about 3/4 of a cup. And the results aren't available yet, but so far, researchers say that in some patients, they have improved. So whether this translates to sort of almost like a vaccine to prevent people from getting it as a stopgap measure until a vaccine is ready in a year, year and a half, maybe even 2 years, that remains to be seen.
You know, Lori, I've heard some people talk about that have had the virus, having it longer than that 2-week period that was talked about. We've been hearing a lot about antibody tests. Aren't they used to determine whether a person is well and can go back to work?
Yes, I want to take an antibody test because this is the test, and it's a little confusing because we go back and forth talking about testing. There's one test to determine whether you have COVID-19 right now. The antibody test, which is what we're talking about now, this is the test to determine whether you ever had it. The antibodies will still be in your system, and presumably you're immune. So yes, if you test positive for COVID-19 antibodies, the thought is you're immune and you can go back to work and roam around freely, because if you're immune, you can't get it from anyone and you can't give it to anyone. So Vice President Pence says that there are 4 antibody tests that have been approved by the FDA, and the production is so that they're producing about 20 million a month. Right now, those antibody tests are going to people who need them the most. And of course, we're talking about healthcare workers, especially people who work at nursing homes, because we need to know if these people are immune. So rapidly, they'll start diffusing within our society, and we can all hopefully get them.
And so are the results known immediately when they take these tests? Because there was some discussion also about the fact that it wasn't a matter of not having enough tests, it was a matter of taking the test and then having to wait a significant period of time to get the results.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because there have been a lot of scammers out there. So there have only been 4 tests that have been approved by the FDA, and if you want to get a test, go through your doctor. There are a lot of them available on the internet, and those are not reliable. So that's something to be on the lookout for. But as far as the procedure, it's really wonderful. You just prick your finger and just 1 drop of blood, and they can test in just 1 drop of blood whether you have the antibodies.
How long does the test take to get results?
Only about 15 minutes. Now, these are the good ones, the new ones that have just been developed that the White House Coronavirus Task Force is recommending.
Do you see a day coming where we're going to actually separate the population based on you are good with antibodies, so now you can go out and conduct business as usual, you can go wherever you want to go, and those that don't have that positive test still have to remain sheltered in place?
Well, that's a great idea. The only problem there is we need more tests. I mean, we have 350 million people in the United States. It's pretty hard to test everyone, although given time, we'll have enough tests. I mean, you think about other types of tests that we have for the flu and whatnot. Right now, Gordon, what's so exciting is they're testing populations randomly to see what the penetration of the virus is. For example, in Los Angeles, researchers from USC and the California Department of Public Health tested 1,000 people randomly in Los Angeles. They got a random sample of people and they tested them with the antibody test, and they found out 4% tested positive. Now, if in Los Angeles, 4% of the population is 300,000 people. So we can assume that about 300,000 people are positive for coronavirus, yet only 8,000 have officially been tested positive. Right now in New York State, Governor Cuomo is working with the New York Public Health Department, and they're randomly testing 3,000 New Yorkers to see what the level of penetration, how many people test positive for it, and they can sort of conflate those numbers to give us an idea of how much of the general population has been infected with COVID-19.
But isn't there a real negative downside to that? If you're asymptomatic, you're also a carrier of the virus, and so that means there are 300,000 people in LA who can infect 5 other people. I mean, so you're looking at a increase of the pandemic as opposed to a decrease.
Absolutely. It's 100% a double-edged sword. So you have people who have recovered, who are, we believe, to be immune, roaming around, hundreds of thousands. But also, yes, they estimate between 25 and 50% of people who do get this virus are asymptomatic. So we do need to, this is what we've been saying all along, we need to pretend like everyone we come into contact with has it, because you never know, they could.
All right. Well, CBN News has launched a new webpage dedicated to keeping you up to date with the latest information on combating the coronavirus. For a free downloadable fact sheet and all the latest updates, all you have to do is go to cbnnews.com/coronavirus.
Fascinating.
Yes. And
Not in a good
discouraging
way,
all
yeah.
at the same time.
Not in a good way.
It's one of those, how do we get out of this?
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
you know, it's until we get these tests and we can actually determine the extent of it. But then the other side of it, we don't know the actual effect of the disease on individuals.
Or the
I'm
treatments.
hearing of all these problems that people who have recovered have lingering health issues because of the virus.
Yeah.
You know, the bottom line for me is you don't want to ever be near this thing. And so how do you effectively protect yourself?
One day at a time, I guess.
I'll stay
Yeah.
away.
Well, yeah.